Colorado has one really elite corner, but he needs a partner in crime, and Deion Sanders may have just landed that person.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by Jace Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jace case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jacemedical.com. That's Jase medical.com. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Thank you for making me your first listen of the day. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day. Colorado, they are in the portal, shocker, getting active again, and they are making sure that they are fixing all of their issues, all of their problems from last year or this past season, because there were some clear issues. I think one, which we knew, the trenches. The offensive line was terrible. The defensive line, room for improvement. So what do? They go out and land 5 offensive line transfers. They bring in the top offensive line top offensive line recruit. I just bit my tongue. That hurt. Recruit in the country in Jordan Seaton. So now they have a completely new offensive line. And then one of the other kind of under the radar issues for Colorado this past season was corner. It wasn't Travis Hunter. It was whoever was playing opposite him. It was Omarion Cooper. It was Cormani McLean. It was Carter Startmeyer. And there just was never there was never a consistent guy that could hold on to the job and could do everything. And so Coach Prime talked about how he wanted to go into the portal and land some defensive backs. And so he already landed. Let me break this down to you guys, because he's doing what he needed to do. He already landed Preston Hodge, who's listed as a safety, but some people project him as a corner. I'll just call him a safety for this exercise, and we'll see where he ends up. And then yesterday, he goes up and he said he wanted corners who had experience, and he got just that yesterday. He landed Oklahoma State transfer DJ McKinney, who is a redshirt freshman for the Cowboys, and played nearly 600 snaps last season, had a pass coverage grade of 70.2 according to PFF, which was second on Oklahoma State's team in terms of all their defensive backs. He has three seasons of eligibility remaining. So not only is he the perfect pairing with Travis Hunter now, he's a long-term investment. You get him for at least 2 years. But I wanted to talk about just how important he is, because I know a lot of people are going to say they have Cormani, they have Omarion, they have whoever. And honestly, not a single one of those guys proved themselves enough to kind of hold on to that starting role. So I'm going to give you the breakdown, because his pass coverage grade was a 70.2, which is 60 is average. Anything below is kind of like, oof, not great. So you look at guys like Travis J, who was listed as a safety, played 2 games as a corner. He had a coverage grade of 54.7. Jaquez Robinson played in 4 games, only played 64 coverage snaps, 63.5 grade. Miles Slusher only played in 4 games. He was a safety. Vito Tisdale, or Marion Cooper, though. He started 9 games, 64.1. Kendrick Breedlove, who just transferred to Purdue, had a 54.8. Cormani McLean had a 51.4, which is not great. Obviously, he was a freshman. Jaden Milner-Jones was pretty good as a freshman as well. He had a 64.4. Carter Startmeyer, who I mentioned earlier, 65.9, started the year as a starter. But those were all the corners. And then Travis had a 74.7. So, obviously, you're not going to base your starter off their PFF coverage grade, because it comes down to scheme fit. It comes down to his knowledge of the playbook. It comes down to is he doing all the right things off the field, as Coach Prime has made quite clear. That's very important to him, is making sure everybody's doing the right things on and off the field. But right now, I would project the 2 starters at defensive back to be one Mr. Travis Hunter and then one Mr. Dylan DJ McKinney. I think when you have 2 guys that could kind of, I don't say lock. I don't expect, especially in these days in college football, there's never really lockdown corners. I think Travis Hunter even showed that he's vulnerable to the occasional big play, as we saw against Stanford and Arizona. Another year under Travis's belt, though, and I'm sure he'll take a step forward. He's a film savant. You can see it every time he gets an interception. It's usually off of a play where he's baiting the quarterback. So quarterbacks are the ones that are supposed to kind of bait defensive backs with their eyes. And it's Travis Hunter who will kind of shuffle over to a little zone over here. And then all of a sudden he dives across 10 yards because he knows where the throw is going to go once the quarterback sees a certain look. And so Travis Hunter knows what he's doing. I think adding a guy like DJ McKinney, one, not only gives Colorado a quality starter who probably should start right away, gives them more depth, and it kind of takes the pressure off one of these other guys. It kind of takes the pressure off Cormani to step in right away and be the starter. Now, obviously, year two Cormani, we're expecting a big jump because there's always that big jump from year one to year two. This puts pressure on all these guys like Armarion, Cormani, Jaden Milner Jones. It puts pressure on everyone who wants to play corner opposite of Travis Hunter. You now have one more person that statistically and analytically is better than you, and you now need to prove why you deserve to play. And I think that's the perfect approach for Coach Prime because obviously I'm sure he loves Cormani, I'm sure he loves Omarion, I'm sure he loves all these guys, but at the end of the day, you need the best player on the field, and if those guys don't earn their job, don't win the job, then you kind of SOL, as they say. So yeah, Dylan McKinney, really good coverage guy. Realistically, he's going to at least contend for the starting role right away. But this past season, these were his stats. He had 38 total tackles, 5 pass deflections. Didn't get a pick, but 5 pass deflections as a freshman, redshirt freshman, excuse me. 6 foot, 174. He has some decent size, some decent speed, and he played in the Big 12 last year. So he has that experience already. He has experience going up against these offenses, which we're going to see. And a lot of the Big 12 quarterbacks are new. Outside, well, I mean, Colorado's already played Cam Rising and no Fafita, but he hasn't played, or Colorado hasn't played Cam Rising, I guess, not this past year. But they haven't played. He hasn't played against no Fafita, but he's played against Baylor. He's played against Iowa State. He's played against all these teams, and he knows what they like to do. So he has experience on the field, experience in the Big 12, and honestly, he probably will be starting opposite Travis Hunter, which is perfect because if your next corner off the bench is a 5-star recruit who is trying to prove that he deserves to be one of the starters, we're getting an instance of iron sharpening iron at this point. And Coach Prime is well aware of what he's doing. He knows that while he has potential in the cornerback room, he needs someone who's proven. And that is exactly who one Mr. Dylan DJ McKinney is. He's proven that he could play. He's proven that he's kind of someone who could steal a job and could hold on to that job for the next couple of years. Because at the end of the day, I think we talked about this on one of the more recent episodes. Something that Coach Prime's doing this year, one is he's targeting guys who have playing experience, and he's targeting some guys who are going to be here for multiple years. He's not getting those 1-year rental guys where it's like, okay, come here, plug and play for 1 year, and then we're done with you. No, he's getting guys that are going to stay for a little bit, and it's a huge portal addition. I think this could be one that we end up talking about in the middle of the season is like, oh yeah, that was one of the bigger ones made this offseason. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. The NFL season is the regular season is wrapping up. Playoffs are about to start, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there's so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays, or you could find bets in the new Explore tab. Or even better, you can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, which is the best way to find those popular parlays that everybody's hopping on and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and making me your first listen of the day. Like I say, we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, so make sure to like, subscribe, follow. Give me those 5 stars. Shedeur Sanders took a shot on Twitter, not at someone, but for someone, I guess you could say. Not an alcoholic shot. I don't think he's doing that. I mean, he might be. I don't know. I don't think so though. Obviously, Colorado has already brought in the number 2 transfer portal class in the country, but I think they learned last year in bringing in the number 1 transfer portal class. You bring in all these guys, you hope they blend, and they don't always blend. And Shedeur Sanders knows that Travis Hunter is returning. Jimmy Horn Jr. is returning. They add Will Shepard. They add Terrell Timmons. And you know what? Oh, and they add Chairman Mateer the tight end. And he's like, you know what? I need more weapons. I need more weapons to throw to. And I love that because you never know what happened. Maybe they're trying to limit Travis's snaps on offense. Maybe they're trying to find or just mix things up or be like in the cornerbacks room where they just have so many talented guys. It makes everybody better, makes the team better. And I think that's what he's doing, but we'll find out. But let me tell you, on Twitter, he posted, we want just a second. We want LeJohntay Wester or Lajay is his middle name is, or whatever I think he goes by, LeJohntay Wester in Boulder. LeJohntay Wester is currently ranked as the number 7 available wide receiver in the portal. He had a phenomenal year this past season for Tom Herman's Florida Atlantic Owls, and he's a veteran guy. He's I think a 1-year guy. Comes in, he's been productive all 4 years. So he has, for his college career, and I'm not joking, I'm not making this up, through 4 years, 252 receptions, 2,700 receiving yards, 10.7 yards per catch, 21 touchdowns. They've also used him extensively in the run game. He has 36 carries for 2 touchdowns. And he can also return punts. He has 57 punt returns for 632 yards and a touchdown. His receptions, which this past season were 108. This was a stat line for this past season alone. 108 receptions for 1,168 yards, 10.8 yards per catch, 8 touchdowns. He was second in the country in receptions with 108. He's a speedy guy, comes out of Florida, 5'11", 167, so obviously not the biggest guy. I think he adds a different element to this Colorado offense. I think he's kind of reminds me of Jimmy Horn, but I would say he's a more polished Jimmy Horn at this point. And this isn't to say that Jimmy Horn's going to lose a spot, but Colorado had a lot of hype around the receiver room this past season, and it kind of fizzled out. I look at their numbers, and it's like, okay, I see who the 3 clear leaders were. Again, I will continue to say that I think Travis Hunter needs some sort of snap count, just so he could, if his main focus is going to be defense, I think he needs to help out the defense more than he needs to help out the offense. I think makes great catches, great plays on offense. He was second on the team in reception and receiving yards this past season and second in touchdown catches. But I think they need him more on defense. So if they could bring in guys that could help take the pressure off him on offense, that'd be great. So Xavier Weaver led the team in catches with 68 for 908 yards. He's off to the NFL. Travis Hunter, 57 for 721, 5 touchdowns. And then it's Jimmy Horn, who had 567 yards and 6 touchdowns, which is a team high. And then it takes a steep decline. Dylan Edwards, the running back, he had 36 catches for 299 and 4 touchdowns. So basically Colorado, and then Mikey Harrison, who left the team. He's over at San Diego State with Sean Lewis. He had 31 catches for 284 yards and 5 touchdowns. And then Omarion Miller had 11 catches. Javon Antonio's gone, had 17. Tavares Dawson, 14. Anthony Hankerson's gone. So realistically, Colorado's top receiver left. Their second best receiver in terms of production, Travis Hunter, probably should be focusing on defense a little bit more just to help out that defense. It's not to say that he can't do it. I think the defense needs him more than the offense. So, yeah, Jimmy Horn was right after Travis with 50, or he had more catches but less yards. So I think Colorado needs more weapons. They bring in Will Sheppard from Vanderbilt. I think Will Sheppard automatically is the top receiver on this team. I think he kind of slides into that Xavier Weaver role as a jump ball guy, that deep ball threat. And I think LeJohntay Wester could come in and be that slot receiver, could be that guy they move all over the field. He's kind of lightning in a bottle every time he touches the ball. So it's never a bad thing to have too many elite wide receivers, and especially when you have a good quarterback like Shedeur, who's going to have a better offensive line that allows him to not be sacked 56 times. Even if Shedeur sacked 30 times, imagine 26 extra plays for Colorado where Shedeur has a chance to throw the ball to someone and he's not sacked. That's huge. That could be the difference between them winning 4 games to winning 8 games or whatever it may be. So LeJohntay Wester, big target for Shedeur. I know he was one of the guys that visited this past weekend. So clearly Shedeur is making sure that he feels loved and he feels like he's out here getting the attention that he deserves, because Colorado could use more weapons. It's never an issue to have too many receivers. No one's ever said, we got too much talent. That's never been a problem. I promise you that. This episode of Locked on Buffs is also brought to you by our sponsors over at Jace Medical. I know we come to talk to sports and escape from some of the crazy realities of real life, but can we just talk for a minute about preparing for real life? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin, right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. That is scary. I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than if one of your significant others, like if my girlfriend got sick, I would be very sad. If one of your kids got sick, with a supply chain issue, not having the medicine that they need, to give them the life-saving medication they needed, thankfully, will be okay because of Jace Medical. The Jace case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illness, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinuses, skin infections, among others. This stuff could happen to any of us. Visit jacemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. Go to jacemedical.com and use offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off. Again, go to Jace Medical, that's JASE, medical.com, and use code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. We are talking about the defensive coordinators. Who is it going to be? Obviously, we know that Warren Sapp is joining the staff. It's not going to be him. I promise you that. But it could be a long list of names. And I talked about a few. And the guys over at Buffs Beat wrote an extensive list. And I wanted to go over it, kind of give you the pros and cons to each guy. They have the favorites, Mike Zimmer. I think he brings a lot of. Oh, side note: Carl Reed said that the 24/7 Sports Carl Reed said that it's going to bring an NFL vibe, NFL experience. So a lot of these guys are going to be former NFL guys, but do they have the experience at the college level? Nah, that's where it gets a little tricky in recruiting and stuff like that. But Mike Zimmer, proven guy at the NFL level. He says he wants to return to coaching. He's 68 years old. Obviously, has been in Coach Prime's staff at both Jackson and Colorado. Is he a perfect fit? I wouldn't say he's a perfect fit in terms of recruiting appeal and college coaching experience, but sure, he could shore up the defense in a major way. Ed Reed. I think he and Coach Prime are somewhat close. He said on the Pivot podcast that Coach Prime wanted him to take over at Jackson State when he left. Ed Reed was actually accepted to take the Bethune-Cookman head coaching job last year, but didn't work out. He called out the program for how the facilities looked and stuff like that. But he's someone who has some sort of coaching experience, I guess you could say. He worked at Miami as a management role, senior management role for 3 years, and then he was expected to be the head coach of Bethune-Cookman. So this could help him get that coaching experience. He's a very knowledgeable guy, obviously an NFL Hall of Famer. Rex Ryan. I thought this was an interesting one. I haven't heard this one. They said, this may seem like a long shot, but if you've seen the video of Rex Ryan visiting Jackson State in 2021, it's obvious there's mutual admiration. He's a currently ESPN analyst, just turned 61. He's been out of coaching since 2016. Obviously, he fizzled out as a head coach. But if you could just focus in on the defense, maybe that could help out Colorado. Brandon Staley. Obviously, Brandon Staley was a kind of head coaching wonderkind, I guess you could say, and then all of a sudden it didn't work out with the Chargers. He got really aggressive at the wrong times and kind of fumbled away the first few years of Justin Herbert's career. But this could be a perfect time for him to kind of rebuild his brand and maybe just kind of, I don't know, just better his career, turn his career around after what was a tough tenure in LA. Then they have notable names like Tony Dungy. He's pretty old. He's also 68 and hasn't coached in 15 years. I don't think this was I don't feel like that'd be the perfect one right there. Ken Norton Jr. has a lot of college coaching experience, which is why I like him. Former teammate with Deion Sanders in San Francisco. Works at UCLA. He's well liked, been successful in multiple capacities. Mike Caldwell. He's with the Jaguars. Current Jags defensive coordinator could become unavailable. He kind of created the vibes of Saxonville. So they were getting so many sacks in Jacksonville, they started calling it Saxonville. And then Lovie Smith is someone who some people are viewing as the favorite. He's interesting because He coached at the college level, recruited quite well, I guess you could say, at Illinois. Illinois didn't work out. He was 1739, but at Colorado, he wouldn't have to worry about running the program. And then Vance Joseph is another interesting one. He has that experience at the NFL level. One of these guys that if Coach Prime came knocking, maybe he'd take the offer. I know Charlie Strong was another guy that people mentioned. I think this would be a really interesting hire for Coach Prime. I think the hiring, one, we're going to learn two things from his hiring. If you hire someone with college coaching experience, then he's expecting them to recruit. If you hire someone who's an older guy like Zimmer or Rex Ryan, who's been out of coaching and doesn't have recruiting experience in this modern era, then it tells me that he's going for pure just coaching, and then he'll handle the recruiting aspect, which Coach Prime is very good at recruiting. It's not hard to sell playing for Deion Sanders, but it'll be interesting to see with which decision he goes. You guys comment below who you think is the best fit, because I feel like there's a lot of good options out there. I think Ed Reed and Brandon Staley are two interesting names, just in terms of youth and kind of their relative success. Well, Ed Reed didn't coach, but he got a head coaching job. So I feel like he kind of brings that knowledge, and I would love to see him coaching in that role. And I think he'd be a dynamic recruiter. Imagine turning down Ed Reed and Deion Sanders. That'd be difficult. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for tuning in to Locked On Buffs this fine Monday. I will see you guys tomorrow. Make sure to like, subscribe, and give me those 5 stars on wherever you get your podcast. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys have a great start to your week.